So this is the fourth and final immeasurable that we're going over in this four-part series. Equanimity. So the first one we did was loving kindness, then we did compassion, sympathetic joy, and today is equanimity. And I may be making up a story, but I feel like Phuntsok is presenting them in a very conscious order because they're sort of building on top of each other, which I've never really heard them presented in that way. So it's been really exciting. And so I'm very excited to see, how equanimity fits into this journey of the four immeasurable truths. And Phuntsok, as you know, and if you're watching on YouTube, hopefully that means that I've done my job, which probably I have not. Um, this is being recorded, and these teachings come from Phuntsok's many years as a Tibetan Buddhist monk and as a lay practitioner. And Home has been taught out of his apartment for a long time and now online. And there's a few ways to donate. I'll put them in the chat, but we all know Venmo, PayPal, and Patreon are great ways to support Phuntsok's work and teachings. So with that, I'll pass it over. And thank you, Phuntsok.
Thank you very much, Nizam. I have to say, I'm very bad at expressing gratitude. I'm so very grateful for all the work that you've been doing with preparing this and sending out the emails. And if I've not expressed it, it's not because I have not felt it. Definitely feel very grateful, and I hope to be able to express it in a much better way sometime in the future. Thank you. And thank you everyone for keeping this going. As long as you are interested, I'll be interested in sharing the Dharma with you, both from what I have been given, what has been transmitted to me, and also from what I understood, the meaning of what I was taught. And of course, when I understand something and there seems to be some sort of controversy as to how to understand it, I usually go to my teacher and I ask, okay, everybody's saying it means this way, but I don't feel it means that. I feel it means, and my teacher would sort of make corrections. Okay, you're both wrong. Or he would say, oh, this person is correct because of this, and you're correct because of this. So whatever I give you, it's not entirely, even though I will not, most of the time I try not to use language that people are familiar in the Dharma world. It doesn't mean that I'm making it up, okay? I'm trying to use as much as I can language that everyone can understand, even if it's not Dharma language, because I feel that a lot of times when you're very familiar with the Dharma world, we start to use our own vocabulary, and it seems to be exclusive of people who are not familiar with those vocabulary. So if you are very familiar with certain vocabulary words, you may not encounter them in these talks. And I try also not to give, like if you were to do a nice search, especially with AI nowadays, if you were to do a search on AI, okay, give me a presentation on the four immeasurables, I will not give you what AI will spit out to you, okay? A lot of times, especially when it comes to Dharma understanding, AI gives you a nice sort of like overview, but a lot of times it's, not a lot of times, but I found many errors in what AI has produced, okay? And also, I try not to give you what can already be found in a book, okay? As with the four immeasurables, the usual presentations of them, you find them everywhere. You find them in the Lamrim Chenmo, the stages of the path, however many different kinds of interpretations and presentations that are given out there. The Dalai Lama, different geshes have given presentations. There are many books on presentations. And then there's a section in there where the four immeasurables are presented from the what you might call the Tibetan Mahayana perspective. And from the Theravadan perspective, there's the Vishuddhimagga, the path of purity. There are a lot of beautiful works online by Theravadan scholars and practitioners. And so the presentation that I like to present us, a kind of presentation that sort of take all these presentations and sort of summarizes them, and then give them a little bit of a perspective that is sort of like understood from a practice perspective. Okay. All right. So as usual, we'll begin with a meditation, and then we'll go into the topic. And then if we have time, there'll be time for questions at the end. Okay. All right. So bring to mind that you're going to enter meditation. And the reason for entering meditation prior to the talk is to open your mind so that your own capacity to understand as deeply as possible can be awakened, and so that your own intelligence can guide you and help you to grab what is needed, what is necessary for you for your own development. So hold that intention in mind. Feel that intention having been communicated to all the different dimensions of your being, your body, the physical, the emotional, the energetic, the intellectual, the instinctual, all the different dimensions that make you. Feel all of them aligning, responding cooperatively. And begin where it is obvious for you to notice the response. Feel the physical. Feel the intelligence within the physical body itself responding, sending advice. Arrange your legs this way. Make sure your spine is this way. Make sure your arms and shoulders are this way. Head and neck this way, so that each part of your body is cooperating, giving you a sense that the body itself is entering meditation, accessing, abiding in ever more subtle levels of consciousness. Powerful means to bring about meaningful transformation. Feeling that the body is ready, feeling the readiness also in a somewhat energetic way. Bring your awareness to the breath. Simply observing the breath, that you're breathing in as you breathe in, you're breathing out as you're breathing out. Observing the breath this way, notice the body becoming calmer. And simultaneous with the calm, there's a pleasantness arising. Notice it. Notice the calm infusing how you are experiencing the breath. The breath is slowly becoming calmer. And there's a pleasantness associated with the very dynamic, the very act of breathing. By bringing attention, by collecting attention towards these experiences, the calm, the pleasantness, palpably present in the body, palpably present energetically, using the breath as the bridge. You begin to be palpably aware of them, slowly arising in the mind itself. The definite, practical, visceral sense of calm slowly arising in the mind. A pleasantness slowly arising in the mind. Noticing them, rejoice, welcome them. And eventually you begin to notice a slight shift in how the breath is behaving. It's a sign that alignment is deepening. And there's a readiness to fully commit, to fully enter the meditative state. And once you feel that, make a determination to enter meditation, to access subtle levels of consciousness, to approach closer and closer to authentic being. And make that commitment with a nice breath, conscious breath. Gently, fully breathe in through the nose. Hold the breath. And as you're holding the breath, strengthen your determination, strengthen your intention, and release. And as you release, allow yourself to go deeper into that very sensation of calm that you're feeling palpably in the breath, palpably in the body, palpably in the mind. And at the end of the exhalation, stay where you've reached. Stay in that deeper calm, that deeper sense of joy, that clearer sense of clarity, that brighter sense of experience. And leave the breath alone and make the intention to go even deeper. Gently, fully through the nose, breathe in. Hold the breath. And with a strong determination, release. And as you release, feel yourself going deeper into the calm, feel yourself going deeper into the joy in the body, in the breath, in the mind. And at the end of that exhalation, leave the breath alone and just stay aware as much as you can of just the new sense of calm, the new sense of joy. And when inner sensations arise, either tactile or visual or inner sounds or inner even tastes, any inner sensations arising, immediately acknowledge them as signs that you've actually gone deeper. Your mind has become clearer. Your mind has become brighter, approaching closer to its natural state. So rejoice. And for the third time, gently, fully breathe in, hold, rejoicing in the signs, intending to go deeper, release. And as you release, feel yourself going deeper physically, energetically, mentally, into the calm, into the joy. The signs pointing to clarity and radiance are getting stronger, more vivid, brighter, more present, sharper, louder, more distinct. Rejoice, knowing that you are at some level in the meditative state. You are at some level having access a degree of a subtle consciousness, a more powerful means to bring about meaningful transformation. Rejoice. And just take as a consideration whatever is an expression of your being, physical, energetic, ideas, convictions, beliefs, drives, energy, emotions, the way you express them, the way you feel them. Think of all of them in this way as arising expressions arising from your own fundamental state. So feel and acknowledge what is referred to as Buddha nature is exactly what is appearing right now as those different expressions. It is Buddha nature that is this physical body. It is Buddha nature that is these emotions, the way you're responding, the way they are felt. It is Buddha nature in potential, fundamental basis that is those being expressed, that is appearing as these beliefs, these drives. Bringing attention more to just this fundamental drive, this fundamental basis, this purity that is the potential that became this physical body, the potential that became these emotions, the potential that became these different dimensions and expressions that you call you. See a light, think of a pure expression. By pure expression, meaning an expression that is not in any way disassociated from the pure fundament, from the pure potential, the absolute freedom. And it appears as light, and that light permeates all the different expressions of you, the physical, the energetic, the emotional, the drive, the instincts, the beliefs, the emotional responses, the emotional feelings, and that light permeates all of them. And it continues to infuse them with light until their different appearances begin to melt into just pure light itself. Until there's only light. Now your physical body is light, your energy is light, your emotions are light. The drives, everything is just pure light. And with the next exhalation, see those lights now returning to pure possibility. And stay in that space of just pure possibility. And know that if you wish to emerge from the space, and we're using the word space just as a way to be able to refer to it. It is not even space yet. It is not even time yet. But it's the potential for space, potential for time, potential for different kinds of awareness, different kinds of objects of awareness. It's just the potential. And notice specifically what is absent in just pure potential. There is no attachment. There is no aversion. There is no pain, no suffering. And we wish to have a pure appearance emerging from that potential, an appearance that stays connected, an appearance that is always aware of its origin, pure freedom. And ready to interact from that place. And let the light emerge, still connected. Let the light take different colors, still connected. And let each color become the different expressions, drives, still connected, emotions, still connected, beliefs, still connected, energy, still connected, emotions, still connected, physical, still connected. Okay. Get ready to come out of meditation. Be aware of just the space of the meditation itself. Rejoice, noticing the degree of calm, pleasantness, the degree of clarity of mind, the degree of luminosity of mind. Noticing them, rejoice. Make the intention to stay connected. And with that, take a nice deep breath, gently, fully breathe in and breathe out. And as you breathe out, deliberately, consciously reconnect with your immediate surroundings. Feel, see, hear. Right. All right, so this meditation was somewhat of an introduction to how I'm going to present tonight's talk from my perspective. And before I go to that perspective, let me review a little bit. So far, so this is the last installment on the four immeasurables. It's immeasurable equanimity, upekkha in Pali, upeksha in Sanskrit, and tangnyom in Tibetan, and equanimity in English. Equanimité in French. Sorry, that's all the language I'm going to do. That's bad, because I'm always thinking, come on, this is not a language class. I don't need to know what the synchro is, but for some reason, in talks like that, there's some sort of need for that. Okay, there it is. Okay. So the reason I mentioned those different ones is because each one of them somewhat have their own sort of approach and understanding. Okay, and we want to understand them, how they understand them, so that we don't see them as opposing each other. Within the Tibetan tradition, there are two traditions of how to present the four immeasurables. And first of all, they're called Brahma Vihara. Brahm Vihar. Okay. I'm trying to sound like I really know how to pronounce them correctly. Did I fool you? It sounds like I really know how to pronounce it correctly, right? Brahm Vihar. Okay, so that itself, that's the name of them in the Pali and the Sanskrit. When you translate those two terms themselves, it means vihar, it means abode. And that is the word that they use in the Theravadan countries for like a monastery. A monastery is called a vihara, basically a dwelling, a place, right? But it also means like a dwelling in not only in the place where you stay physically, but also a place where you're a condition that your mind dwells in. Okay, okay. And Brahma means pure, just the word itself, but it's also the title of a kind of a being. For lack of a better word, in English, we use the word deity. Some people, well, not some people, but very few people use the word angel to describe these kinds of beings. But those two words, because they are so imbued with philosophical understanding, so they might create a misunderstanding. Okay, but anyway, it is a class of being, evolutionarily speaking, in terms of spirituality, are more evolved than human beings, meaning that they have less suffering than human beings. They have more mental clarity than human beings do, in generally speaking. Okay, and there are different gradations of that. And Brahma is one of those kinds of beings. Brahma is considered to be a high level kind of being who presides over other high level beings. Okay, it's really like a leader of a heaven. Okay, we are using these terms, but just because we don't really have a very equivalent term for them, so we have to borrow terms. So since the terms are borrowed, they don't necessarily have exactly the same meaning. Okay, there are many heavens and there are many Brahmas. Okay, and Brahmas are considered, the term pure means pure in the sense that pure of heart. One achieves the state of Brahma. So if you practice a certain way, a certain kind of spirituality, you may find yourself being reborn as a Brahma. Okay, but it doesn't mean that you've entered some kind of nirvana. The state of being a Brahma is not an enlightened state. Okay, but it is a higher, basically a better social status in samsara. Okay, where suffering is less, and the clarity of mind is much more. These kinds of beings who are called Brahmas are called pure because they have these four states of mind. They abide in these four states of mind. That's the only states of mind that they have. They relate with others out of love. They relate with others out of compassion. They have genuine sense of joy in others' success, and they do this impartially to all kinds of beings. That's the kind of mind that they dwell in. Okay, so being able to dwell in these kinds of minds, it is that you have a mind that is like Brahma, so Brahma-like. And because they are supposed to be impartial, they're supposed to be you're supposed to have these sentiments towards everyone. They are in a sense the object to which that you are expressing these sentiments towards the object is boundless and measureless. So they are also called immeasurables. Okay, within the Tibetan and Mahayana traditions, they are mainly referred to as the immeasurables. Okay. So that's why they're called the Brahma. That's why they're called Viharas, and that's why they're called the Immeasurables. I started to mention that within the Tibetan tradition, the 4 immeasurables, there are 2 ways of presenting them. One way of presenting them is to present first Tangnyom, to present equanimity, and then present the others. And the reason for that is that it makes the mind, it prepares the mind to be able to do the other ones. Because first you have to overcome attachment, first you have to overcome any sense of aversion, any sense of enmity towards anyone. And equanimity sort of puts your mind in a state where you sort of regard everything and everyone in the same way. So you're prepared to be able to have love for everyone. It prepares you to have compassion for everyone. It prepares you to have sympathetic joy for everyone. Okay. Then there's also another presentation which sees equanimity as simultaneous with achieving a certain degree of concentration, a certain high degree of concentration. Among there are 4 concentrations that are considered to be very deep levels of concentration, very deep levels of absorption. They're called jhanas. And it's the word jhana that became Zen, believe it or not. And so these 4 jhanas, equanimity there's a natural equanimity that is achieved once you achieve these jhanas, especially the 3rd one. So there are 4 main ones, especially the 3rd one. Once you achieve that, then you have a natural equanimity. And because of that, there's the presentation of equanimity to be the last thing, because it is considered to be a more advanced than the other ones. Okay. So now, the presentation that I've been doing, I've been sort of doing the presentation from the perspective, not almost, but from the perspective of how we did the meditation. How these sentiments are spontaneous ways of expression emerging, or spontaneous ways emerging of relating with what is perceived as other. Okay. And also, in a way, they can be seen as expressions of fundamental nature itself. Now, a question can come up. If these are already aspects, characteristics of fundamental nature, aspects and natural aspects of enlightenment, you could say, then why develop them first and then reach enlightenment? The journey towards enlightenment, you could say, is it's not just Tantra, which gives you a method where you're sort of like, what's it called? What has come to be termed the as-if technique, where you are taking the result as the very path itself, right? In Tantra, it is presented as, the path of Tantra is presented as, you take the result, so you act as if you're enlightened, and then that itself, that acting as if you're enlightened, is the path that actually takes you to enlightenment. But this is not, this is gonna sound very, what is it? Very, never mind, whatever the adjective is, it escaped me. I'm not gonna spend my time looking for it. I'm not chasing you. So it seems like it's a very unique feature of Tantra to take the result and then start using the result, making it the path, and eventually you become enlightened. So in Tantra, you imagine yourself to be, You have the permission, I have to say, to imagine yourself as enlightened. You have the permission to see yourself acting as if you're already enlightened and doing enlightened work, doing enlightened activity. Okay, but this is not unique to Tantra, and Tantra is not creating a completely new dharma. Okay, and this is actually the path itself. When you've entered the path, you're not yet enlightened. When you enter the path, you have to deal with your own emotional disturbances. You have to deal with your own inability to be compassionate. You have in an immeasurable way. You have to eat with your own kleshas, right? And the way for you to begin, the way that you are on the path is to, for example, when you take on what's that called? Ethics or morality or discipline, right? When you take that on, what you're actually doing, the prescription that you're given, do not do this, do not do that, do this, do that, and these are not natural to you, but you're doing them anyway. What you're doing is that you're pretending to be an enlightened being, because that's how enlightened beings behave. They don't do these things, they do these kinds of things. Even though it's not natural for you to stop doing certain things, even though it's not natural for you to engage in certain things, but you force yourself to do them. You force yourself to restrain, you force yourself to act a certain way. In a way, what you're doing is that you're pretending to be enlightened. You're forcing these behaviors upon yourself, because that's the behavior of enlightened beings. So from the very beginning, you're doing what Tantra is, says, I'm the unique one, I'm the only one who do these kinds of things, but all the path is like that, okay? And when you're training your mind to be focused, your mind is not focused yet, that's not the natural state of your mind, but you're making your mind focus. Why? Because that's the natural state of an enlightened being. So you're pretending to be enlightened. You're trying to be enlightened, okay? So when you're, since these qualities that are considered to be qualities of an enlightened being, it seems like you develop them. From one perspective, it seems like you develop them. Like you gather them, and boom, you're enlightened because you've gathered enough of them. Now you have enough to be enlightened. But it is also stated that once you reach enlightenment, these qualities are spontaneously there. It was almost as if there was no need for you to develop them. Okay. Whoa, what did I say? You shouldn't develop those things. Wait, before you go out and say, Phuntsok said you don't need to, hey, I don't need to develop love. I don't need to develop compassion. Before you go on and say that and slander me, even though I just said it. And the thing is, the state of enlightenment itself is not something, because the reason that it is stated that way, because the state of enlightenment, these are spontaneous. Right now, we have to create the intention to be loving, especially to someone that is difficult to love. We have to apply effort to have compassion in that way. We have to apply effort. It means that in the state of enlightenment, there's no effort needed to do those things. Those are natural ways of relating. Okay, and I'm getting to it. Why am I taking this path, this way of explaining it? So why develop the four immeasurables, especially to a state of samadhi, to a state where they actually, from where the very love that you feel takes you into an ecstatic, meditative state, an ecstatic trance, where you become the very you become the very entity of love itself, where you become fully identify with the entity of compassion. and the entity of joy and the entity of equanimity, right? You develop it to that point, and that becomes supposedly a cause to make you approach closer and closer to achieving enlightenment. So that is, you could say, one approach, the approach of development. And then that development itself becomes a means to easily access the enlightened nature itself. Okay. Now, the other approach is to understand that these qualities are spontaneous expressions. If you basically, you are taking wisdom practice, that is understanding the underlying nature of reality, taking that approach and seeing that these are not just things you put on top of wisdom. These are not things that you necessarily develop with wisdom, but rather if you go deeply into the understanding, deeply into experiencing the fundamental nature of reality, deeply that is, then the natural, once you emerge on the other side of that deep understanding, these will be naturally present. Okay, and you can see how each one of the four they are each themselves a kind of a perspective of fundamental nature. Love is a perspective of fundamental nature. It is fundamental nature itself. It is not. It is, and it's not like everything is empty. Hatred is empty. Hatred is fundamentally empty. And I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about love is itself the fundamental nature. Compassion is itself the fundamental nature. And sympathetic joy, maybe, can I just use mudita? It just sounds better. Because sympathetic joy, that's not doing it for me. Maybe too many words. Sympathetic joy, too many syllables. Mudita, okay? Is itself the fundamental nature, okay? And equanimity, and this is what we're supposed to be focusing on tonight. And you can see how equanimity itself is itself the fundamental nature, okay? Think of from the meditation where pure potential before any expression whatsoever, anything that we can conceptualize, whatever, however subtle, however refined that concept may be, pre that, okay? Just pure potential for any expression, whether it's material, whether it's subjective, whether it's objective, however, whatever the conceptual mind can express. Before that, masam jumishira parochin, okay? The inexpressible state, the pre-conceptual state, okay? Just pure potential to be, right? And when I say a pure emergence from that, what I'm referring to is that an awareness that is not disconnected from that knowing, a consciousness that is not divorced from that knowing. Our consciousness right now, you could say, is divorced from that knowing. We are not simultaneously aware of this fundamental pure potential, which is, you could say, in truth is our true identity. This absolute freedom for any expression, just that freedom itself. Not the expression of that freedom, I'm free, I'm doing this, but the freedom, the potential to have any expression, just that state itself, right? Now, imagine awareness emerging from that, an expression emerging from that, that is no longer pre-conceptual, but actual and kind of a kind of conceptual that is aware of its nature of being pure, just pure freedom, pure potential. Okay, and not losing that awareness. That is what I'm referring to as a pure emergence. Okay. Now, within the realm of reality, there are many expressions. Me, you, that, objects, subjects, all these are expressions. And they are equally emerging from that pure potential. And at the same time, there are equally expressions of that pure potential. Imagine a one substance like water, for example, being expressed as ice, being expressed as steam, being expressed as flowing water. They're all different experiences, different expressions, but they're all equal in that they're all water. In that same way, whatever is appearing, whatever is experienced, if you're able to understand it as, and what's the reason for this understanding? The reason for this understanding as all emerging, all equally being expressions of this one fundamental truth, so that we don't get caught up. Like there's an expression that we are dealing with, that we are relating with. And because we are not aware that the thing that we are relating with, or the person that we are relating with, we ourselves were relating with the person, and the kind of relating that we are doing, all these are expressions emerging from just pure potential. Okay. And from pure freedom. And because we're not aware of that, then that's when the kleshas, that's when this pure potential is experienced as the kleshas, is experienced as the, for lack of a better word, I would say the dysfunctional ways, the dysfunctional ways of relating emerge. The dysfunctional ways of emerging are themselves expressions of that, but the thing is, very quickly, it is not that this place, and we're calling it place just because we have no other way of referring to it, but let's just, for the sake of talking about it, this place of pure potential is not like that's the good place to be, and then the place of expression is the bad place to be. Okay. It is not like there are two separate worlds, and we're trying to get into this world to live this world. There is no separation whatsoever. That's the non-duality. Wherever there is reality, you are actually meeting this fundamental principle. And that is why poetically it is said, whoever you encounter, you're encountering the Buddha. It's not to say that everyone, however they have become enlightened, but rather everyone, everything, if it is real, it is emerging. If it is real, it has the right to be. Nothing that is real is something that doesn't have the right to be. That's why whatever it is that you are experiencing, whether it is a good experience or a bad experience, especially if it's a bad experience, you cannot just dismiss it as a way of dealing with it. You have to engage it. You have to relate with it. Because if it exists because it has the right to exist. And to put it in a very theistic, in a very theistic, to put it in a theistic way, whatever exists because it is divine. Whatever exists because it partakes of the divine. Whatever exists because it has permission from the divine. This is the way to put it in a theistic way, so that we relate with everything that exists with respect. If it exists, respect it. And I'll put it to you for those Madhyamikas and Nagarjunians. Okay. If it exists because it is empty. And empty is what we are seeking. We are seeking a direct experience with emptiness. If it exists, it is emptiness that you're dealing with. Whatever you're dealing with, you are dealing with emptiness. Okay? And emptiness is what we are desperately seeking to have a direct relationship with, what we are seeking to have a direct knowledge of. So if it exists, it is a door to emptiness. If it exists, it is the door to the divine. If it exists, it is the door to this fundamental, what's a nice place? Fundamental, oh yeah. If it exists, it is the fundamental, it is the fundamental authentic being. Okay? So whatever exists, respect it. Respect it doesn't mean that, for example, suffering exists. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't do anything for the expression of the divine that is appearing as suffering should be allowed to remain as suffering. Because the reason I'm making this distinction is because there is a kind of way of people dealing with suffering by thinking, oh, that's the thing that doesn't exist. That's the thing I should just ignore because it doesn't really exist. As though the opposite of suffering is the thing that really exists, and we want to be with what really exists. Okay, that should not be the approach. The approach should be respect that all the necessary conditions for that experience to exist have come together. Suffering is not something that cheated reality and made itself appear to be real. Okay? If it exists, that very fabric of reality is itself, or it's partaking of that fabric of reality. Okay? So that is the reason why in the earlier, I have to say the earlier, the earlier approach of developing equanimity is to continuously repeat to yourself, may I accept reality as it is. May I accept my karma. May I accept my karma. So in a way that is telling you respect what is already appearing. It is appearing because all the necessary conditions for reality are in place. And one very important thing I want to also say about that is about respecting reality, is that there is no such, how do I put this? There is no fake reality. If you're having a direct experience that you don't seem to have any control over, okay, don't think of it as a way of dealing with it is to think of it as a fake reality, okay? If it participates, if it emerges from the thread, from the mold, from the substratum that is called reality, or coming from emptiness, coming from authentic state, it is authentic state being expressed in some form, then it is real. Okay, meaning you must deal with it. You can't just ignore it. That's why the path of overcoming suffering is to acknowledge it. The First Noble Truth tells us, first acknowledge your condition as it is. The First Noble Truth says suffering. So it's not saying, hey, ignore this one, what I'm about to say, suffering. Okay, now pay attention to this one. No, understand that the very essence of freedom is in suffering itself. It doesn't mean go look for suffering. And believe me, you don't have to go look for it. It finds you. Okay. That is, whatever you are directly experiencing is your ticket to freedom. Meaning it is, since it is itself an expression emerging from fundamental state, it is an expression emerging from emptiness. It is an expression emerging from authentic being. Then it itself can take you to emptiness. It itself can take you to authentic being. You cannot have a direct experience of the fundamental reality with imagined things. Now that seems to be, wait a minute, isn't that Tantra supposed to be imagine things and you get to pure freedom faster? One of the practice of Tantra is that you have to, while you are imagining what Tantra is asking you to imagine, there must be a part of you that must assert that it is real. It's when you are able to experience it as real, that is having, it's making you react towards it the way what you call real makes you react. Unless you, until you reach that level of interacting with your imagination, it's not going to be able to help you. Okay, you can only deal with reality. Now, for those who are not so prone to what you might call the wisdom approach to developing the 4 immeasurables, then the approach is you seek to enter a samadhi that is a deep meditative state, where a samadhi meaning all your senses, all your sense powers have been withdrawn, okay? And the only thing that exists for you at that level of absorption is just the thing itself. So when you're absorbed in love, only love exists. When you're absorbed in compassion, only compassion exists in that experience. For those who want to take that approach instead, so they can have a visceral experience, then it is to develop an equanimity where one of the methods to developing equanimity using that method is you imagine a friend, an enemy, and a neutral person in front of you, and you relate with them. And at the end of the meditation, you want yourself to no longer have strong attachments for those that you are already feel close to. You don't want to have any sense of aversion for the person that you have a problem with, and you don't want to feel indifferent towards the person that is a neutral person. You want to have an equal sense of regard for all of them. And the equal sense of regard that you want to develop is that they are all beings, they all wish to be happy, they all want to, none of them want to suffer. And you go through this exercise in your mind where you relate with one, the friend became your friend. It wasn't born your friend. It wasn't like you, something happened to develop that friendship, and something happened to develop that enmity, and something happened to develop the sense of neutrality with the other person. So these are the sense of strong attachment and strong aversion that we feel is very real, more real than everything else. That it is conditional. It is something that arises from conditions. Change the conditions, and the same person who is your friend can be your enemy. The person who's your enemy can be your best friend, and the neutral person can be either one of them. Okay. So you develop, and I'm not going through exactly the method. Go find it. It's in Lamrim Chenmo. Okay. So that is one method, and this is one that you find mainly in the Mahayana Tibetan tradition. And the one that is found in the Theravadan tradition, where you keep repeating to yourself, and you always begin with yourself, right? Have a sense of equal-mindedness, where you feel centered. You don't feel being pushed or pulled in any specific direction emotionally, okay? You develop that towards yourself. May I own my karma, may I face reality as it is. You keep repeating that until it becomes become a conviction. And then you do that for other people. May they deal with reality as it is. May they own their karma. May they, you keep doing that for everyone until you feel that sense of equanimity for everyone. Okay, so that is the approach. If the wisdom path is not the one that's for you. Now, with the wisdom path it's not that you do the opposite. Like, for example, when you're developing these, there are emotions that seems to be like them, and you have to be careful not to develop them. Like attachment, for example, can seem like love, and it's called a close enemy. Okay, those sentiments that seems like them, and if you develop them, but that what seems like close like them, you actually end up not developing them. Okay, like for love, it's the close enemy. The one that looks like love is attachment. The kind of love where you are centered. You stay connected because it makes you happy. There isn't the sense of where your main concern is the happiness of the other, but rather the other gives me happiness. That's attachment. Okay, it's not that you shouldn't feel happy, because of a sense of connection you have with someone else, but rather that shouldn't be the main concern. That shouldn't be the main sense, the sentiment. The sentiment is primary, the happiness of the other. The same way you are wanting to be happy, you are wanting the other to be happy. So that's the main thing of love. And attachment looks like that. And we have to be careful that we're not developing attachment. That's for love. And of course, the enemy of that is called the far enemy. It's called the far enemy because you can spot it a mile away. That's definitely an enemy. The close enemy has to be very, very, very close in order for you to say, oh, that's an enemy. Okay, that's why they're given those terms, far and close enemy. And the far enemy of love is hatred, right? Hatred. The close enemy of compassion is pity. Okay, and again, what makes them the close enemies that they are mainly centered on how you are feeling rather than the other. Remember, these are sentiments to have for others. Okay, so so the close enemy for compassion is pity, and the far enemy of that is the enemy of compassion, that which cannot exist in your mind at the same time as compassion, is ill will, where you want the other to suffer. Okay. For mudita, the close enemy is a kind of excitement. It's like the attachment one, right? You are happy that you are happy that they are happy. Okay. But the thing is, you are more focused on your own happiness. And one of the signs is like you're making comparisons. You're comparing their achievement with your achievement. It's like you're scaling. Okay. And because of that, the far enemy, and this one, the far enemy, the one that is definitely the one that you say, if it's there, then definitely you cannot develop mudita. It's if there is jealousy, obvious jealousy, if there's obvious envy, okay, and there's an obvious sense of competitiveness, okay. So that's the obvious one that tells you mudita cannot live here, just like cruelty cannot live with compassion, and hatred cannot live with love. So for equanimity, there's like a binary close. There's a binary what do you call it? There's a binary far enemy. Okay, the far enemy of equanimity is basically strong attachment and strong aversion, basically biasness. So if there's obvious, evident biasness in your mind, then your mind cannot develop equanimity. And what appears disguises itself, may disguise itself as equanimity, is a sense of indifference. Okay, so equanimity has within it an openness to love everyone. It has within us an openness to have compassion for everyone. So that's the equanimity there. And one advice about equanimity is that treating everyone the same is not necessarily equanimity. There has to be a kind of a skill involved, where the equanimity is that you acknowledge that remember, it says meet reality as it is, rather than the way you are projecting it or wishing it to be. If this person requires this way of approach, where your love and your compassion can meet that person, and then this other person in order for your love and your compassion to meet them, needs another way of approach. Equanimity is being able to relate with that person differently than that person, because that is how your love and compassion can be received by that person. So treating everyone exactly the same is a kind of indifference. So equanimity that's why equanimity is considered to be the more advanced one, because it is kind of a tricky to be able to distinguish indifference, because sometimes in boredom, for example, right? Boredom can be mistaken to be some kind of indifference and some kind of equanimity. There is joy in equanimity, okay? There's natural joy in equanimity. And equanimity means meeting people where they are. It's not giving everyone exactly the same, absolute same thing. Some people require this emotional way of contact. Others require another emotional way of contact. This is equanimity. Equanimity doesn't mean you have the same emotional way of dealing with everyone. Okay, that is not equanimity. That is danger of indifference. Okay, so this is more the emotional kind of understanding of equanimity. Now, take you on a journey again. When we look at reality, the first thing we encounter is we encounter our prejudices. Prejudices meaning we encounter our beliefs, our conviction. That's the thing that we encounter first. Okay. And this is what, to be convinced that our prejudice, to be convinced that our conviction is the actual reality that we are dealing with. This is ignorance. But before we are able to put the veil of ignorance away, we have to acknowledge suffering. We have to acknowledge our prejudices. We have to acknowledge our projections. We have to acknowledge our convictions. So basically, whenever you meet something and it feels this is real for you, immediately tell yourself, this is my conviction of reality, of what reality is. It could be something else, but right now, this is my conviction. So at least at this level of honesty, approach reality with this level of honesty. And you will begin to see threads of connections eventually. You will see, by allowing something to present itself to you, you will see the threads of connections, the things that are feeding it, the things that are nurturing it, and the possible things that could undermine it. You begin to see connections. And that is a kind of wisdom that we instinctively seek, isn't it? When you say someone is wise or someone is very good or skillful at something, is that that person is able to see connections that other people are not able to see. And because that person is able to see connection that other people are not able to see, that person it can engage it in a way that other people are not able to engage. It's because a doctor is able to see connections with the appearance of the person, of the sickness, that they're able to engage it in such a way that they're able to make the sickness go away, right? They see connections. If this medicine is connected to it, if that medicine is connected to it, it is connected to this condition, if that condition is removed. So they're in a way seeing connections, okay? So that itself sort of tells us that one kind of wisdom is being able to, that the things that we the reality that we engage in, whatever we are directly relating with, we are relating with multi-levels of connections that we do not necessarily have a direct experience of witnessing the connections, but we have this understanding. And when we allow the reality to present itself, acknowledging, yeah, this may be my prejudice, this may be my own conviction, I'm willing to let that go, and then that goes away and you start to see connections. The very perception of reality being infinite connections, and infinite connections in the sense of the only reason that anything exists is because of other things, either because they're not from the most fundamental place fixed to be those things. They are, remember, potential is not just, there's a layer which is, and I was describing it with, in terms of there's a layer of potential, and this is just to talk so that we can begin to have an appreciation. Remember, this is Buddha nature. Yeah, my hand is Buddha nature. It is Buddha nature appearing as my hand. Okay? This is emptiness appearing as hand. Hand is not something, emptiness something else. Remember from the Heart Sutra? Form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Form is not anything other than emptiness. So you think I was talking about just philosophical ideas? No, everything. Everything. So if you substitute emptiness with Buddha nature, if you substitute emptiness with the divine, if you substitute emptiness with, that's what it is. This is the divine. This is God appearing as a hand. This is Buddha nature appearing as hand. It is not other than the emptiness. It's not other than the divine. It's not other than the Buddha nature. Okay. So in the same way, the very thing that is appearing to you, because it is itself this Buddha nature, this fundamental space, if you allow yourself to really be with it, not only will you see hand, you will see emptiness. Not only will you see hand, you will see Buddha nature. And you don't have to, it's not like you get rid of hand and then emptiness appears. But through deeply looking at hand, remember Avalokiteshvara was looking deeply at the 5 heaps. So look deeply at whatever experience comes up, and emptiness will eventually appear. The divine will eventually appear. The space of pure freedom will eventually appear. It is pure freedom appearing as this thing called hand. So whatever, and the reason for hand to be hand is that everything that is not hand, not attached to their identity, allows for hand to be hand. So in here, bone, flesh, skin, blood, they're not attached to their identity, and they're willing to let it go so that hand can exist. Hydrogen, I've said that before, hydrogen is not attached to being hydrogen. Oxygen is not attached to being oxygen. And because they're not attached to that, we can have water. So hydrogen sacrifices its identity. Oxygen sacrifices its identity so that water can come into being. So whatever we see coming into being is the display of love. Okay? Since the very drive of the nature of being is seeking happiness, basically seeking to abide in its nature. That's what happiness is, seeking to abide in your own nature. Always expressing your nature, being free to, because your true nature is just potential for every expression. And now an expression is sought. So it's just pure potential to express itself, expressing itself, being itself. And this interconnectedness is the very physics of love. And since the physics of love allows for every expression, because it underlying it, it knows that no appearance is the actual reality. It is not fixed to be that. So that's why it can express as suffering. It can express as not suffering. Because fundamentally speaking, suffering and not suffering are just expressions of pure freedom. And at the fundamental state, it's bliss. It never loses the fundamental state of being bliss. Suffering doesn't stop being empty. Suffering doesn't stop being the divine. Suffering doesn't stop being the Buddha nature. Okay? And because of that, you could say the allowance for all kinds of expression is love, because it's seeking expression, and seeking expression is seeking to express its fundamental state, which is pure freedom, and which fundamental state abiding in that is happiness, contentment. So this, when we see appearances, we are seeing fundamental nature expressing itself as love. And there's a wisdom that knows that there are certain expressions that do not that are not self-reflective of the fundamental state of bliss, the fundamental state of happiness. It is a freedom to not experience it, but at the same time, it gives the delusion of not being that. And compassion is making the correction. Compassion is that very state itself making the correction. And mudita is an acknowledgement of that fundamental state. No matter where one goes, that fundamental state is there. And when there's a return, when there is the appearance of a return, it's not really a return. It's not like you went out of your nature and now you're returning to your nature. When there's an acknowledgement of that nature, then to reinforce that acknowledgement, then there's mudita. Mudita is reinforcing that what seems to be the return, to encourage it. Okay. And that fundamental space that allows for all expressions, and without that fundamental state ever undergoing any change, that's equanimity. Okay. So equanimity is constantly remembering this fundamental state. And if we constantly remember this fundamental state, that when it is in its pure expressions, the pure expressions of concern for happiness, its pure expressions are concern for suffering, its pure expression is encouragement of returning to fundamental state. Then whenever we encounter anything, whatever the experience may be, whether it is extreme suffering or extreme joy, it's not that we are not experiencing extreme joy, we're not experiencing extreme suffering, but we do not allow these things to take us away from this fundamental awareness that fundamentally we are not those expressions. Fundamentally, these are just expressions. Fundamentally, we never actually leave It's not that we leave our authentic way of being to become something else, but it is that authentic way of being itself that is expressed as this extreme suffering or this extreme joy. And not to be, allow those to take us away from that awareness, we abide in equanimity. That is, enjoy your bliss without getting lost outside of yourself. Acknowledge your pain for what it is without getting lost out in that so that you are away from yourself. Stay centered, stay unshaken. Can you move physical space? Can you take physical space and shake it? So equanimity should be like space, where you allow love to play, you allow compassion to play, you allow mudita to play, and you remain centered. Okay. All right. I think I've talked your ears enough. So, yeah, one last thing. I think just a repeating of what I said from the very beginning. Those kinds of meditation that are supposed to be more advanced forms of meditation, where you're asked to abide in your, just abide in your nature. Do not seek to transform, do not seek to modify. They're not suggesting if you are caught up by some sort of strong emotion that is overwhelming you, stay overwhelmed. What they're asking to, that is what I said, is to take especially when there is a strong experience taking place, where there's the danger of being taken away. Being taken away means believing something that is not true to be true, or reinforcing something that is not true to be true. Okay. When there's that danger, immediately tell yourself, because this reality is imposing itself upon me, then this is a very beautiful opportunity for me to have a direct contact with the divine, with emptiness, with fundamental being, with authentic being. And and you just take a seat within you and just look at it. Oh, there's my prejudice that I'm imposing on it. Oh, there's my conviction that I'm imposing on it. Oh, look at that. There are some connections, and you begin to see love, and you begin to see compassion, and you begin to see the other ones. And when you eventually are able to abide in this fundamental being, authentic way of being, then you enter into what is called spontaneous activity, where you do not have to make the intention to be compassionate. You don't have to make the intention to be loving. Every interaction will be an expression of those things. And that is the way of developing the four immeasurables without developing the four immeasurables. Especially for those who are lazy. Okay, I said that was the last thing. The very, very, very last thing, kind of a more practical thing. In the same way of about when something overwhelming is taking place, right? Along with just observing it, remember just make a wish. I wish to make contact with the fundamental place that will make me respond in coming from a pure, having a pure response. I wish to have a pure response to this. Okay. That's it. Really, that's it. Yeah, believe me, that's it.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Is it really it?
That's really it.
Okay. This was very meaningful, and I never heard this described. Whatever it is you're talking about, I never heard it described this way, and it really hit me. I just wanted to express that. And I wanted to ask you about something, because what you talked about reminded me of something I've been experiencing in my dreams, where I wake up and I'm probably on the astral plane, and it's like as though my body is turning into, like, going through a wall, almost like it's just transforming, and it's a very painful experience. And I woke up one day, and what was happening was the ultimate like dearth of meaning and dearth of fulfillment was experienced, which became ultimate meaning and ultimate fulfillment. They were the same thing. It's not like one turned into the other. They came from the same thing, and they were exactly the same. And it also seemed like they were just both appearances. They weren't exactly truly real. And I don't know, this changed me. Experiencing that in my dream and waking up really changed me. And it sounds like it's something that you were talking about, maybe with the potential. But I thought I would ask you to explain what it was.
Yeah. Okay, that's very nice. When you are practicing, one of the first ways of transformation taking place is in a dream state, where the transformations that you are seeking to express, you begin to witness them taking place in the dream state, and eventually they will enter into the waking state. So we want these four immeasurables, these four sentiments, to be spontaneous. And one way of developing spontaneity is habituation, even it becomes spontaneous. So like everything else that is spontaneous, through habituation. And one way of habituating is to that method of to call it the wisdom method. Okay. And so your dream is validating your experience, validating you. Okay.
Thank you.
I guess the dream theme also hit me because I think I've spoken to you about this, but I have this recurring theme where I'm in a car and there's a driver, and the driver represents different things that are controlling my actions in different moments. And recently, I was in the backyard of like a house, and the car was destroyed. So I wanted to get your thoughts on, what that could mean, especially relating to this talk.
Okay. Recurring dream of where you're in a car and you're being driven by someone, and the person is different. And
the
last
person is
one,
different.
the car crashed.
The car got destroyed. It was like getting,
Destroyed.
like a car, like it was getting destroyed by one of those like big machines that crushes cars.
Okay. All right. So there's a reality coming. It looks like I'm some sort of a medium or something. I'm getting something.
Yeah.
So you're doing something. You're taking control of your life. Since that car was always driven by someone else, thank goodness that car is now destroyed. So no longer will you be driven by whatever it is because the different drivers or different circumstances driving your life. Now you're starting to take control of your life. You're directing your own life. So that car that was driven by others is destroyed.
Okay.
Reminds me of that.
I just needed the
beautiful,
validation.
okay. Reminds me of
Yeah.
the beautiful poem by the Buddha, where he was, once he achieved enlightenment, he said, "No longer will you build this house." Talking to ignorance. No wonder you create this kind of existence for me. I'm taking control now. Very nice. Okay. Yeah, and be careful with dreams, in a sense of, as you are developing, your dreams will be like a mirror, sort of like showing you your development. And be careful of developing false pride, where you basically stop your progress, because you have a sense of, oh, I'm making progress, and then that will make you feel, what's that word? What's that? Complacent, because there's a sense of pride you develop. You should develop joy, a joy that what you call fuels your effort. Oh, look what happened. More can happen if I continue, right? That kind of joy. But be careful of the joy that may make you complacent. Okay. Well, I'm developing. Well, I'm look at all those people. I'm more advanced than them, so I shouldn't. I'm not in a hurry. You may not be saying that consciously, but somewhere deep within you, there might be that. So be careful. So dreams are very good signs, and when they communicate to you, be thankful, and then take them as further fuel for effort. Okay.
Are there any signs that like might to look out for in like pride, right? So because there's times where that has come up as a problem in terms of like asking for help when I need help, and not wanting to look like I am in
Someone
need.
need,
Yeah, I don't know wanting to look like someone who needs help, because for some reason there's a part of me that's like, that's the worst thing that could happen. And being in a position where yeah, so it kind of just brought that up as you spoke.
One exercise that could help is to, and it comes with any of the sentiments when it comes to yourself. If you encounter difficulty of expressing those sentiments towards yourself, love, compassion, see yourself as another. Okay, see yourself as another person who needs help. And when you keep seeing yourself as another person who needs help, that will sort of free you from that sense of pride that makes you see, makes you not go get help. You're just another person who needs help. Just another person who needs help, just like anybody else who needs help. I'm just another one of those.
Also, you can always say, it's for a friend, he has this problem, and I was wondering about X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. Yes, I have a friend actually who's having problems with that. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. And sorry if I disappointed you, if this is not what you were expecting from a talk on the 4 immeasurables, especially equanimity. And but those other talks, you can find them in wonderful books by beautiful teachers, Lamrim Chenmo, and websites. Don't trust AI, okay, when it comes to dharma. It's not that advanced yet. AI is not enlightened. Okay. All right. Let's get ready for closing meditation. All right. Communicate to the different dimensions of your being that you want to enter meditation. Feel different parts of you responding cooperatively. Welcome their cooperation. While they are aligning themselves, remember being in meditation, and let the very remembrance of being in meditation begin to give you the taste of being in meditation. And as soon as you have a taste of that, rejoice. And to stabilize it, take a nice deep breath, gently, fully through the nose. Breathe in deeply. Hold for a few seconds. Strengthening your determination to let go, to release, to completely allow and release. And as you are releasing, letting go, feel yourself going deeper into the sense of calm, the pleasantness, the clarity, the radiance, deeper into the meditative state. And at the end of the breath, stay in that experience of being in meditation. And again, we're going to do the same meditation that we did in the beginning. So make a strong aspiration to make direct contact with that authentic being, pure potential, the shunyata of your being, the Adi Buddha of your being. And think of it as this pure magic, able to be any realness, any reality. The pure potential to be any reality. And it pervades all reality. It doesn't hide somewhere. It is in reality itself. Make a strong aspiration to make direct contact, to have direct awareness. And feel all of us sitting in a circle, making that strong aspiration. And from our collective center, a light emerges. The light is emerging, it's appearing, and at the same time, it is directly aware of its fundamental nature, pure potential. And it expands, enveloping everything, everyone, until there's only this pure light, no other appearance. And suddenly, like a flash of light, there's no appearance whatsoever. Consider this no appearance as a kind of directly encountering just pure potential to be. So this nothing that you are seeing, this non-appearance that you're seeing directly, is you're directly perceiving potential to be anything. It could be subjective, it could be objective, it could be one, it could be multiple. And that pure and that understanding stays with you. And just like images slowly appearing on a screen from a center place, the universe begins to appear again. But you don't lose that awareness, that understanding of the essence of what is appearing. Everything is pure potential. Pure potential is everything. Each thing is pure potential. Pure potential is each thing. Then you have the universe again. Trees, animals, birds, mountains, rivers. And feel yourself as potential, waiting to relate with all these different appearances, or relate in such a way that you stay connected and you reconnect what is disconnected. Feel spontaneous. Love is ready to be expressed spontaneously towards any. Compassion is ready to be expressed spontaneously towards any. Joy is ready to be expressed towards any. And the space, awareness of that space that holds reality, being reality itself, feeling that unshakable feel of being centered. And that shimmering light, you don't need to see it anymore to remind you. See it in coming back to the center. Now that you have this realization, let the light enter your heart. And you have this firm conviction, firm readiness to relate spontaneously. There's no other way to relate skillfully other than the 4 immeasurables. When we help someone, we are sincerely helping ourselves. When we sincerely help ourselves, we are helping everyone else. And release that image and just feel just the space of the meditation itself, the degree of calm, the pleasantness, whatever signs pointing to clarity and radiance. Just feel the radiance and the clarity if you can. The sense of attention being collected and stable, unmoving. Rejoice. Feel the merit energy of the meditation. And think of something that is of concern to you. Spontaneously let that energy go address that concern. Feeling fulfilled, feeling ready to meet this moment onwards. Take a nice deep breath. Release. And as you release, deliberately, consciously reconnect with your immediate surroundings. Try to reconnect with that understanding, that knowing. Reconnect to the sense of touch. Feel the temperature, feel the clothing, feel the cushion, feel your seat, hear the different sounds. Let your eyes take in light. Notice colors, notice shapes, lights, shadows. Thank you.